eating disorders more prevalent than you might think. And according to the National Institute of Mental Health, nearly 1 in 10 Americans will develop an eating disorder in their lifetime.
So to find out how you can help yourself and really your loved ones inside your home, we brought in Dr. Julie Morschen. She's the founder from HBL Live Well, where they are focused on this outcome-driven programs there. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start with the pandemic. We saw this giant rise in eating disorders, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. And now we're pulling away from a lot of those pandemic restrictions. We were just talking in the break about masks are gone as well. How is that change also impacting eating disorders?
Well, I think first and foremost, we're not going to know for a while what happened because of the pandemic, right? We're going to see that ripple effect over and over for a while. I think there's a couple things, but one of the things is right now we're seeing some struggle of going back into your life. So I haven't done this for a while. You know, I haven't made new friends. I haven't socialized in this way. I haven't gone necessarily regularly to these classrooms that I've done or these jobs. And so there's a lot of anxiety that's come with going back into the world after COVID. And when it comes to disordered eating, if you look at eating disorders, it's not just about weight, shape, size, right?
Yeah.
What we know about eating disorders is that they're usually a coping skill for something else. And so if we talk about an increase in anxiety, and if a disordered eating behavior is something you use to cope with anxiety, well, increase in anxiety, increase in behavior, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we're definitely seeing. And I think that, you know, over time we're going to see what it looks like, but I think we're in this for a bit.
So what about the warning signs? Obviously, sometimes we can see an increase in anxiety in our children, but you may not recognize all those signs. And of course, as parents, we want to help our kids as soon as we can.
Yeah, and I think the hallmark always, whether it's disordered eating or anything else from a mental health perspective, if you see something different, something's different, right? You go with your gut. If you're a parent that you're saying, like, this isn't my kid, you know, notice that. But when it comes to disordered eating, first and foremost, we're not just looking at weight, shape, and size. You will miss it. If you are just looking at, hey, did this person lose weight or gain weight, you may miss it. So we want, yes, it matters, but it's not the only thing.
Yeah.
We're looking for behavior change. So let's think about a kid who normally is part of the family dinner and now they're isolating more. They're saying, I'm not really hungry right now, I'll grab something later.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, okay, that happened Monday, but it's now happening again on Thursday. Is this a thing? Right? And so you may see pops of different behaviors, maybe some normalcy and then some differences. And so you want to just be paying attention to stuff like that. Yes, there's other aspects of isolation because disordered eating is really kind of a disease of disconnection. So you really want to make sure that you're paying attention to, are they isolating? Are they doing things different, not with their friends anymore? Because in order to keep an eating disorder, you got to stay away from your loved ones because they're going to check in on you.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about that isolation too, I mean, we are all addicted to these screens. I mean, whether it's your iPad, your phone, whatever it is, and especially for, I think, teenage girls. I mean, scrolling on social media, what is that having on their psyche? I mean, the impact.
Right. So first and foremost, if parents are listening to this, never tell your kids you can't be on social media because it's the first thing they want to do, right?
Of course,
But yes, social media is exhausting. And it is actually exhausting. They are flipping through and flipping through. And what's happening from a developmental standpoint is they're saying, where do I fit compared to what I'm seeing?
Right.
If they're doing this, should I do this?
And the comparison, right? The body images too, all of that.
And it's not real. So you want to think about too, you know, it's funny, you even talk to parents who see on Instagram this great picture of a family vacation and everybody's smiling. And I always like to say to people, you have no idea if that sister just hit that brother right before they snapped the picture. Right? And so you can say to these kids, look, just because they're on these highlight reels, it doesn't mean that it's real. And you also don't know what it took that person to get there. You see someone who's got this body that you're idealizing, they may have an eating disorder, and that may have prompted sort of this change. So just being careful about that, and as parents, watch what they're looking at.
That's right. How can we give people more information?
Please.
Because unfortunately, we wish we had even more time. We'll bring it back another time. But so what can people do? What can parents do?
So always have the conversation. absolutely be asking these questions. Don't be afraid to have conversation. If you're wondering about starting conversations, you can use the NEDA website. They've got great conversation starters. It's nationaleatingdisorders.org.
Okay.
We have some stuff on our website as well on hpalivewell.com, and we also on there have some quotes from our clinicians. This is Eating Disorder Awareness Week, actually. So if you want some motivation, some understanding about disordered eating, if you go on there, you'll see some of those quotes give you some hope.
You've been such a great resource,
Oh,
Dr.
sure.
Julie. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming in
Julie.
today.
Absolutely.
We're gonna